Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to show you all how to set minimum and maximum on some of our attributes here. We'll start at the feet. So I'm going to go to modify and edit attribute, and then from here you're going to see that we have can I bring this down a little bit? Nope. Alright, so you'll be able to see some of our attributes up here in the top. And now, so we're going to start with the bank. So we're going to set it has a minimum and it has a maximum, and we're going to go negative 75 is the minimum, and maximum is regular 75, positive 75. And then I'm just going to hit close just to show you. Now when I go to my bank, you'll notice it stops at 75 now, and on the other side it stops at 75, right? So on this one you'll notice, because we don't have a minimum and maximum, it'll just keep going, which isn't very efficient at all. So we're going to go back in here, modify, edit attribute. Under the R bank has minimum and maximum, and we're going to say negative 75 is the minimum and positive 75 is the maximum, and we're good there. Now, as I continue doing this, let's just say the ball raise, right? I mean, it could go down maybe a little bit, but that might be weird. So I'm going to put has minimum L ball raise has minimum of 0 and has maximum of positive 75. And I'm going to do both of these simultaneously, so we'll go to this one. Ball raise has minimum, has maximum, and now we'll just test it real quick. And it doesn't go past that point. It's always good to have a little bit of exaggeration. Okay, so now the heel raise. So technically, the heel, you could bring it down, so I don't see a problem with that, but I do think we should have a limit on it. And since we've been sticking with 75, maybe 75 is the number to go with. So we'll go heel raise, negative 75 and positive 75. And do the same thing to this side. Heel raise has minimum and maximum, negative 75 and positive 75. And now the heel raise can go down and it can go up to 75, but no more. And that's too much basically, but you never know. If you have the foot moved in some kind of weird position, it might be able to be really helpful to have that extra little area that you can use. So we've done the ball raise, heel raise. We haven't done the pivot yet, so we're not going to expect this guy to break his heel all the way. But I'm gonna go with 75 again. I feel like that's probably the number for this rig. Now yours might be different. You could definitely have different numbers, but as long as you set a minimum and a maximum and you understand it, that's good. So heel pivot has minimum, has maximum, negative 75. And I always like to give it a little bit extra room than what seems realistic, because it is animation, and you never know playing towards the camera and stuff like that. So again, heel pivot has minimum, has maximum, negative 75 and positive 75. And now let's go ahead. So I have the bank done. That's just displayable. Pivot, heel raise. So now I have the toe pivot, and I think I'll probably just go with positive 75, and yeah. So toe pivot, negative 75, positive 75. Same thing on this one, toe pivot, negative 75 and negative 75 and positive 75. And also here, the toe raise. So let's see what the toe raise is all about. So again, I'm going to go positive 75. I could even go further. I could go all the way to 100 on this one. And let's see if I go down. I think I'm going to keep this one at 0. So it has minimum of 0, has maximum, and I'm just going to go 100 for the toe raise. Has minimum 0, has maximum of 100. Alright, so there is those controllers. So now all of the extra controllers that I have here all have minimum and maximums set to it, which will make it easier and even probably more fun to animate, because nobody likes to get frustrated while you're animating. So now we've got minimums and maximums, and we gave ourselves a little bit of extra room just in case we did need it. And you can see I'm just kind of negative 75, positive 75. I'll bring this to 0. And then just double check it works on both of them. Heel or ball raise, that's working. Heel raise, that's working. Heel pivot, that's working. And bank, that's working. And toe raise, that's at 100. And then toe pivot, 75 and negative 75. Perfect. Alright. Now, the finger controls are pretty good. We don't really need to worry about these having mins and maxes. There's not too much to it. Now, the head control. So these you can do, has minimum, has maximum. You could do 1. I'm going to go with 1, but you could easily do 2 to give it a little extra in case you needed it. But because it stops at 1, I'll just go with 1. So I did that for all of those on my head control. Now the other one I want to do is the jaw control. So I'm going to go to modify and now that we've done the modify edit attribute to everything, now I need to go to my attribute editor and go to my jaw controller. Now the scale's already locked, but if I click on this limit information and I drop down the translate and rotate, I can I need to get a good idea though of where, let's say like -5. You never know. -5 seems like a pretty good one. So translate, and that should have been X. Yep. So we're going to go translate X, -5, and +5. Same thing with Y. I'll just stick with the positive and negative at positive -5, -5 and +5, excuse me. And then we'll do the same thing here. And then on rotate, I mean, I don't feel like this, I mean, let's see, the rotate, I'm going to give it a little extra. I'm going to go 45 and 45. -45, +45. Did that just read my mind? Okay, so -45 and +45. Now, here, oh, it's just, I think it's already set by default. My rotate Y, I think 45 will be my number. Oh, that's Z. Let's check Z. So this is X. This will be Z. And Y. That'll be pretty good. So -45 and +45. And now I've set the controller, my minimum and maximum on the jaw controller. And really after that, unless you have any special controls that you created yourself, we did the head, we did the jaw, we did the feet. You could set some on these, but I really don't feel like it's absolutely necessary. It would take a long time too, but also it's just one of those things that the fingers, you know, you don't really need that setting on. Not that it couldn't hurt. and nor could it help. Like, it could help also, but I just don't feel like it's absolutely necessary for all that. So anyway, just make sure that when you go in here and clean up the rig, set your minimum and maximum on all the foot controls on both feet. Set the controllers on the minimum and maximum also on the head controller, and also do it for the jaw controller. And the jaw controller you do in the attribute editor under limit information here. So anyway, other than that, that's all I have for you on cleaning up the rig and setting minimum and maximum. And actually, before I close this video, because this is the last time we're going to be kind of making any edits to this rig, I'd recommend, in fact, putting all of these, this will be a requirement, putting these IK handles on a new layer. Create layer from selected, call it IK handles. Color doesn't really matter, and then I would just hide it. The reverse foot controls, you could technically hide those too. The joint controls, or the joint itself, so what I want you to do is basically make sure you have all your blend shapes on a layer. Put your IK handles on a layer so you can show and hide your IK handles. Your character joints, put it on a layer, but keep this one visible because the eyes are actually connected to the skeleton. Okay, and then make sure your base mesh is on a layer. So all you're going to do is just select the layer. We've already done this. We've done this in 3D Modeling 1. We've done this in 3D Modeling 2. So make sure you just kind of have everything broken down. Like in the very beginning, I started to add layers as I was working. So my reference images was like week 1. My base mesh, as I started working and got more complete with it, I added to another layer. And character joints, the joints I have on a layer, the reverse foot joints, the blend shapes, and the IK handles. Make sure they're all on separate joints. And one more thing that's actually kind of fun that we don't have yet is we can set the rig itself onto a layer. And instead of, because the rig is kind of parented to everything, I recommend sort of, you can keep it on off its own layer, but at least if you do it this way, and let's see if I can do it this way. I might have to, so I'm first going to do it this way. I'm going to do layer, create layer from selected, and I'm going to call this rig layer. That's fine. And I'm going to change it to yellow. And and I'm going to change this one to black. Okay. So you'll see now that I've got, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually add both of these to my rig layer also. So now my entire rig is in a yellow color. And if I even turn on, I swapped the colors on it, so now my character has black wireframe and the rig has yellow. And then I could even change the joints. Let's just say I wanted them to be, what's a good color? Purple. We can see purple or pink pretty well. So you can actually really distinguish the different parts of this character by separating it onto layers. And as well as the reverse foot joints, you can turn those off as well when you're all said and done. And also, we're at a point where you can even turn X-ray joints off, wireframe on shaded off, and you'll just have basically your character and the rig on here. And in the next video we're going to get into binding that mesh to the rig. But I do want you to put everything on a separate layer. It is really important actually to do, because when you're animating, you don't want to accidentally select anything by accident. So even though this character joints layer is visible, if I tap this to R, believe this stands for renderable. And even though it's pink, it's going to turn it all black, and that's just because it's saying it's saying you cannot select me accidentally. I'm going to do the same thing for my character here, and I'm also going to do the same thing for these joints and the blend shape layers I don't want to be able to mess with, or this. The rig layer I do want to be able to select, and that'll work. So I basically shouldn't be able to select anything on this character except these proper joints. And one thing, actually, I'm going to leave it alone for now, but a lot of, depending on the rig and what you're going for, you can actually, I believe this is going to be rotate Y. Just an FYI, yeah. You can always lock and hide rotate X and Z on the elbow, because this way your elbow will only animate in that direction. You could even set a minimum and maximum because you don't want it to break the elbow. But just for this purpose, you know what, I'll lock and hide it also. And also on this one, lock and hide. Now I could set a minimum and maximum so he doesn't, accidentally break his elbow or whatever, but there is something in animation called breaking the joints. So I'm going to leave it open on that particular section. Now you could set it to a point where, maybe negative 20 or positive in this case 20, 50, I don't know, whatever it might be that you might be interested in doing, but I'm going to leave it open. And but I am going to turn off and lock and hide the X and Y because this is the only one I need on the elbow. Anyway, other than that, we're basically all set. Like I said, you can't accidentally select anything here, and that'll be important in the future, but I want to make sure your file's set up so that you know exactly how to maneuver this character rig in the future without making any mishaps. Alright, other than that, I don't have any more to cover in this particular video. Shoot me a message if you have any questions, and thanks for watching, and yeah, stay tuned for the next one.